Welcome back, everyone. Today we continue with the next part of this series called What If Goku Remember the Saiyans? Let's aim for 400 likes on this one. Also, don't forget to leave a comment letting me know if you've enjoyed the series thus far. With that, let's continue. And how do you make balls of light in your hands useful? Bulma asked skeptically, wondering what a Saiyan was if they could make balls of light appear in their hands. Well, you can use it to attack your opponent in a fight, Kakarot explained. Or you can push it under you to fly. Fly? Bulma said, raising an eyebrow. That's impossible. No, it's not, Kakarot replied confidently. Most beings in the universe can do it, just not on this primitive planet. Oh really? Then you do it, Bulma challenged, laughing. Fine then, Kakarot said, letting go of the energy he'd formed. He began focusing on pushing his energy below him, hoping he'd be able to do it on the first try. Otherwise, he was going to look rather foolish. Fortunately for him, it worked, and the boy started floating above the ground, though with much effort, which showed on the Saiyan's face. After a few minutes, he floated back to the ground, sweat forming on his brow. You okay? Bulma asked, her voice tinged with concern. Of course I am, Kakarot said, not letting his pride admit that flying was much harder than it looked. That was a pretty good trick, an old man said, arriving on Turtle and stepping onto the shore. It was nothing, really, Kakarot said. Who are you, anyway? I am Master Roshi, the Turtle Hermit, the old man introduced himself. As far as I know, only Master Shen's students learn that, Roshi thought. How'd you learn that trick anyway? Let's just say I'm a quick learner, Kakarot replied with a smirk. No kidding, Roshi said, impressed. It took me nearly 70 years just to learn energy manipulation, and another 10 to do anything with it. Yes, Kakarot responded. Well, many people on this planet are weak. Weak? Roshi said, slightly offended. I happen to be one of the greatest martial arts masters of all time. Really? Kakarot said. Is that so? He hit the scouter. 126. He read but said nothing. He really is pretty strong, at least compared to those on this planet. He's even stronger than Grandpa Gohan. Well, Kakarot started. How about a spar for my reward then? I'll probably get beat pretty badly, he thought, but it'll make me stronger being a Saiyan and all. Wait, Bulma interjected, seeing the Dragon Ball hanging around Roshi's neck. Can I have that Dragon Ball? What? This old thing? Roshi said. Sure. He tossed the Dragon Ball to Bulma. Turning to Kakarot, he took a more serious tone. Sure, I'll give you a spar, kid. I'll even go easy on you. Don't hold back, Kakarot said. Grandpa Gohan always holds back on me too. I need a real challenge. You know Gohan? Roshi asked, surprised. Yes, Kakarot said. He practically raised me while I was too weak to take care of myself. So you're the same baby he found, Roshi said. How do you know that, old man? Kakarot said, taking a fighting stance. No one really knew about his heritage, and he didn't want it becoming common knowledge. Gohan told me. Of course, Roshi replied. I was his master, after all. We still keep in touch from time to time. Wait, what's a Saiyan? Bulma asked. She'd heard Kakarot mention them a few times and was curious. Kakarot paused. He figured he might as well tell her. Over the past few days, they'd actually become quick friends. Well, a Saiyan is a warrior race from the planet Vegeta. Are you one of these Saiyans? Bulma asked, her curiosity piqued. Yes, Kakarot replied. Unfortunately, I'm the last of the Saiyans. An evil tyrant named Frieza destroyed my people when I was very young. My father sent me away as a baby and went to try to stop Frieza. Since I haven't heard from him, he didn't succeed. Oh, that's awful, Bulma said, engulfing Kakarot in a hug. You poor thing. Kakarot had to admit he liked the comfort Bulma brought. He wondered briefly what his father would think if he were here, seeing him show such weakness. He quickly pulled away and hid his emotions. Let's cut the small talk and get on with our spar, Kakarot said, turning to Roshi and taking a fighting stance. All right, Roshi said, taking his own stance. With that, Kakarot charged at the martial arts master, throwing kicks and punches with everything he had. The old man managed to block and dodge them all with ease. Roshi threw a punch at Kakarot almost faster than the boy could follow, and much faster than the boy could dodge. The blow connected with the Saiyan's face and sent him flying back to the ground. I think you've had enough, Roshi said. Kakarot got to his feet and wiped a trickle of blood from his mouth. It'll take more than that to beat me, he said as he once again charged at the old man, throwing kicks and punches wildly, thrilled that he was getting a challenge. Grandpa Gohan never would have hit him that hard, always worrying about hurting him. Once again, Roshi blocked and dodged all the blows with practiced ease. The Turtle Hermit hit Kakarot with an uppercut, sending the boy flying into the air. He quickly jumped up and brought a double-fisted hammer blow down on Kakarot's back, sending him into the ground hard. Kakarot got up off the ground, holding his now injured arm. I'm not done yet. Yes, you are, Roshi said. You don't stand a chance in this fight, but you do show potential. If you want, I'll take you on as a student and help you become a better fighter." "You're on," Kakarot said, excited about the prospect of an even stronger teacher than his grandpa. "I'll return to train with you as soon as we're done collecting the Dragon Balls." "The next Dragon Ball should be right up here," Bulma said, looking at the radar. "Probably in that village up ahead," Kakarot said. "Let's check it out," Bulma suggested. A few minutes later, the two were walking through the village. "Looks deserted," Bulma commented. Kakarot hit his scouter. "There are several power levels in the houses," he said, "but apparently, they're all hiding." "That's strange," Bulma noted. "Why would they all be hiding?" "I don't know," Kakarot said, "but I'm going to find out." He walked up to the door of one of the houses and knocked. After a few seconds of no answer, he yelled, "I know you're in there. Open up." When there was still no response, Kakarot sent his fist through the door and kicked it open. Suddenly, an axe came swinging down at Kakarot's head. In an instant, the Sen's hand shot up and caught the handle. "What were you planning on doing with that?" Kakarot growled between clenched teeth. "I thought you were Oolong." The old man on the other end of the axe stammered. "Who's Oolong?" Bulma asked, her curiosity getting the better of her. "He's the monster that keeps taking our daughters," the man explained, his voice trembling. "He's horrible. He can take any form. He usually comes in the form of a giant of some kind. He comes and destroys part of our town, then takes our daughters. Now he has his sights on my daughter, so when I thought you were Oolong, I wanted to protect her." "You're lucky you missed, or I might have had to hurt you," Kakarot said, releasing the axe. "What brings you here anyway?" the man asked, eager to change the subject. "We're looking for a ball like this one," Bulma answered, pulling out one of the Dragon Balls. "That's odd," the man said, examining the ball with stars in it. "I've never seen anything like it." "I've seen it," an old woman said, stepping forward and pulling out another Dragon Ball. Bulma's eyes lit up. "Can we have it?" "It's been in my family for generations," the woman replied, clutching it protectively. "What if we defeat Oolong and get your daughters back?" Bulma suggested. "Sure, if you manage that, you can have it," the woman agreed. "Okay, here's the plan," Bulma said, turning to Kakarot. "We'll put you in a dress and let Oolong take you back to where he's hiding the girls. Then you can beat him, and we'll get the girls back." "No," Kakarot said flatly. "It's the only way," Bulma insisted. "No, it's not," Kakarot said. "How about I just beat him and make him tell us where the girls are?" "Fine," Bulma pouted, disappointed that her plan was rejected. A few hours later, the village was tense with anticipation. "Where's my lovely bride?" Oolong roared as he smashed his way into town. "I'm your date today," Kakarot said, stepping out into the street to face the 20-foot-tall red giant with a pig's snout. "You?" Oolong replied. "Sorry, kid. You're not my type." "I'm not giving you a choice," Kakarot replied. "I'm here to end your reign of terror." "You beat me?" Oolong laughed. "You must be joking. You're nothing but a runt." Kakarot hit the button on his scouter and grinned. "Only a power level of 4, he thought. This will be easier than I thought." Without hesitation, Kakarot leaped into the air and sent a kick at the giant's face. Oolong swung a fist at the tiny warrior but was too slow. Kakarot's foot landed right between his eyes, knocking him to the ground and out cold. An instant later, in a puff of smoke, the giant that was Oolong turned into a short, pudgy pig in army fatigues. "Why did he shrink?" Bulma asked from where she was watching. "Oolong has the ability to transform," one of the villagers explained. "This must be his true form." "Kinda small, isn't he?" Bulma said, laughing. "Typical for such a weakling," Kakarot said, walking back into the hut. A few hours later, Oolong awoke, groggy and disoriented. "Where am I?" he asked, confused. "And why am I tied up?" "Because you're weak," Kakarot said, answering both questions at once. "Now, you're going to tell me where those girls are." "Why would I do that?" Oolong asked, his voice trembling. "Because, I'm assuming you want to live," Kakarot replied with menace. While he had no intention of killing the pig, he could let him think he did. Oolong swallowed hard. "Good point. But why are you helping these people? Don't get me wrong, but you don't seem like the hero type." "There's a reward if you must know," Kakarot said, irritated. "We're collecting some Dragon Balls, and they have one. Rather than having to kill them for it, I just had to beat you." "Can I come with you?" Oolong asked, hopeful. "No," Kakarot said bluntly. "Wait, Kakarot," Bulma interjected. "He might be useful with his ability to change like that, and if he gets out of line, you can always knock him out." "Fine," Kakarot said, walking away. Somehow, he still couldn't say no to the girl, and it was getting frustrating. Later that night, the three companions had stopped for the night and sat around a small campfire. "We only need 2 more Dragon Balls," Bulma said excitedly. "You have an amazing grasp of the obvious," Kakarot said, sitting off to the side with his eyes closed in a meditative position. The young Sen had a look of concentration on his face. "What's he doing anyway?" Oolong asked Bulma. Beats me, Bulma said. He's either sitting like that or working out since I met him. It seems like all he does when we're not busy. If you must know, I'm meditating, Kakarot said, his eyes still closed. What for? Oolong asked, confused. I need to learn to control my energy like a true Saiyan, Kakarot replied as he started to float a few inches off the ground. That's a neat trick, Oolong said, looking to Bulma. It's not a trick, Kakarot said. I'm holding myself up with my energy. I've been practicing it for the last few days. At this rate, I'll be flying within the next couple of days. Flying? Oolong asked, incredulous. That's impossible. Only for the weaklings on this planet, Kakarot said. I'm a Saiyan warrior, and all Saiyan warriors can fly. What's a Saiyan warrior? Oolong whispered to Bulma. I can't tell you, Bulma replied. It's up to him if he decides to trust you. He kinda has trust issues as it is. I don't want to make him mad at me by telling his secret. Kakarot just rolled his eyes and continued meditating. Did they really think he couldn't hear their conversation? The next day, Kakarot, Bulma, and Oolong continued their journey. They were in one of Bulma's boats, traveling down a river. We're really making good time using this river, Bulma commented. Where are we going, anyway? Oolong asked. Well, Bulma replied, checking her radar. The next Dragon Ball is just on the other side of the Diablo Desert. It shouldn't be too much farther. The Diablo Desert, Oolong said, his eyes widening. But Yamcha lives there. Who's Yamcha? Bulma asked, curious. He rules the Diablo Desert, Oolong explained. He's a master of martial arts. It's said he'll rob and kill anyone who comes into his territory. His Wolf Fang Fist technique is said to be invincible. Sounds like a decent challenge. Kakarot spoke for the first time in hours. The young San had been meditating most of the trip but was clearly aware of his surroundings. I don't think you understand, Oolong said nervously. He's a monster. I'm getting out of here. In an instant, the pig transformed into a fish and made to jump overboard. Before he hit the water, he was caught by Kakarot's hand. You're not going anywhere, but Yamcha will kill us, Oolong pleaded. Don't worry, Oolong, Bulma reassured him. Kakarot is really strong. He can protect us. He did knock you out without even trying, after all. Just how strong are you, kid? Oolong asked, still skeptical. My power level is 16, Kakarot replied. What's that mean? Bulma asked, puzzled. Kakarot hit his scouter. Well, you're only at 2, and the pig is only at 4. Does that clarify anything? I think I've got an idea now, Bulma said. Suddenly, the motor on the boat quit. We're out of gas, Bulma said, worried. Oolong, can you turn into some gas to get us to shore? Can't. I'd get used up, Oolong said. I've got it, Kakarot said, jumping into the water. A few seconds later, the boat began to move forward once again as the young Saiyan swam behind it, pushing it down the river. Just head to the shore, Bulma directed. Minutes later, the three got out of the boat on dry land. Oh no, Bulma said, giving herself a pat down. My Dinocaps. Guess we'll walk, Kakarot said. That's easy for you to say, Bulma yelled, hysterical. You're used to the outdoors. What other choice do we have? Kakarot said. Besides, it might be good for you. The sun shone down brightly in the depths of the desert as Kakarot, Bulma, and Oolong walked endlessly. I can't go on, Bulma panted. I'm not meant to walk in the desert. Kakarot just rolled his eyes. Let's take a break then. He didn't really care about how good of time they made through the desert. He'd use the time when Bulma needed to rest to train anyway. Bulma walked over to the shade of a rock and laid down to sleep. I'm going to go find some food, Kakarot said. Before he moved 2 steps though, he spotted a dust cloud in the distance. What's that? Oolong asked, quaking with fear. I'm not sure, Kakarot replied. In minutes, the figure that caused the dust cloud developed into a man on a hover scooter. The figure drew closer before finally coming to a stop in front of Kakarot and Oolong. The man stepped down off the scooter. He was dressed in green pants and an orange shirt and carried a sword sheathed at his side. Atop his shoulder sat a small, cat-like creature. Give me your money and any dino caps, and I'll let you live, the man demanded. Who are you to order me around, weakling? Kakarot replied defiantly. I am Yamcha, ruler of this entire area. Yamcha replied. Hey, the small cat said, interrupting. That's Oolong. He was in my shape-shifting class. He was always a big bully. Well, Puar, Yamcha said with a grin. It appears the tables have turned. I wouldn't say that, Oolong said with a smug look. My boy Kakarot here will take out both of you. Just like always, Puar said, eyeing Oolong with disdain. Having someone else fight for him. This is your last chance, Yamcha warned, his eyes narrowing. Give me your money, and you won't get hurt. No, Kakarot said simply, his voice steady. Your funeral? Yamcha sneered. I doubt that, Kakarot replied, hitting his scouter. You only have a power level of 12, the Sen said with a laugh. Weakling. I'll show you weak, Yamcha shouted, charging at the young Sen. In an instant, he had his sword out, swinging the blade at Kakarot. Kakarot leapt into the air, dodging the blow effortlessly. An instant later, he landed on the ground and rebounded, shooting back at the desert bandit and planting a foot in his back. Yamcha went flying forward across the ground but quickly rebounded himself, charging back at Kakarot. The bandit began throwing kicks and punches at the young Sen as fast as he could, but Kakarot managed to dodge or block every one of them. Minutes later, the two separated. "Now you're going to get it," Yamcha panted. "I'll show you my Wolf Fang Fist." "Bring it on," Kakarot said, taking a defensive stance. "Wolf Fang Fist," Yamcha yelled, moving his hands in a complex motion. The tall warrior began to take the form of a wolf as he charged at Kakarot, throwing punches at lightning speed. Suddenly, he was stopped as Kakarot's fist landed in his stomach with tremendous force. The taller warrior bent down, clutching his stomach, and finally fell to the ground. "Some attack," Kakarot said, laughing. "It might have worked if you were stronger." "You'll pay for this," Yamcha said, struggling to his feet. "I doubt that," Kakarot replied coolly. "What's going on?" Bulma asked, sitting up and rubbing her eyes. "A girl!" Yamcha yelled, jumping back on his scooter and speeding away. "Guess you showed him," Oolong said to Kakarot. "And I was just getting warmed up," Kakarot said, somewhat disappointed. Kakarot, Bulma, and Oolong sat in Oolong's RV, which the pig had just remembered he had. "So what do these Dragon Balls do anyway?" Oolong asked, curious. "Well, if you gather them all up, you get a single wish from the Eternal Dragon," Bulma explained. "What are we going to wish for?" Oolong asked. "You mean, what am I going to wish for?" Bulma corrected him. "I'm going to wish for the perfect boyfriend." "What a wasted wish," Kakarot said from the corner. "Well, what do you suggest?" Bulma retorted. "A true warrior lives by his strength," Kakarot replied. "And strength is what matters. Everything else is second." "So you want to wish to be stronger?" Oolong asked, trying to follow Kakarot's logic. "Are you kidding?" Kakarot said, shaking his head. "Where's the honor in that? Strength gained through a wish isn't really yours. So what would you wish for?" Bulma asked, genuinely curious now. "I don't really need a wish," Kakarot said. "I just decided to come along for the ride, hoping to find someone strong to fight." "How's that going for you?" Oolong asked. "I have found one old master who is pretty strong," Kakarot replied. "I'm going to go train with him when this is over, but I have to finish this first. It's not like you two would stand a chance on your own anyway." "How nice of you," Oolong replied sarcastically. "The truth hurts," Kakarot said, smirking. Yamcha's ears perked up as he overheard the conversation inside the house. He turned to his small, floating blue companion, Puar, with a sly grin. "Did you hear that?" he whispered. "If we could get those Dragon Balls, we could wish for anything." Puar, always curious, tilted his head. "What would you wish for, Yamcha?" With a wistful sigh, Yamcha replied, "I'd wish to never be nervous around women again." Puar nodded in agreement but then asked, "But how are we going to get the Dragon Balls?" Yamcha scratched his head, thinking hard. "We need to lure them out of here," he said confidently. Before Puar could respond, a voice interrupted them from behind. "And what are you planning to do after that?" Kakarot asked, his tone sharp. "Do you really think I'm inattentive enough not to notice a couple of eavesdroppers like you?" Yamcha quickly turned, taking a defensive stance. "I'm impressed, boy," Yamcha said, trying to keep his cool. "You're really on your guard, but you won't win this round." Kakarot smirked, crossing his arms. "Don't make me laugh. I was barely warming up last time, and you were already getting your ass kicked." Yamcha clenched his fists, anger rising. "We'll see about that," he snapped. "I'm going all out this time." "Wouldn't want it any other way," Kakarot replied, his eyes gleaming with excitement. With a swift push off his left foot, Yamcha charged at Kakarot, unleashing a flurry of kicks and punches. But Kakarot was ready, blocking every attack with ease, his movements almost effortless. "Is that all you've got?" Kakarot taunted. "I thought you said you were going all out. This feels more like a warm-up." Yamcha's face turned red with fury. How dare this boy mock him? He attacked with renewed vigor, his kicks and punches becoming even more frantic. Kakarot continued to block, but it was clear he was starting to take the fight more seriously. Finally, one of Yamcha's punches connected with Kakarot's face, sending him reeling back slightly. But Kakarot quickly recovered, his expression now serious. He decided it was time to go on the offensive. With a powerful punch aimed at Yamcha's face, Kakarot struck out. Yamcha managed to dodge by mere inches, but Kakarot followed up with a sweeping kick that took the bandit off his feet. Not wasting a second, Kakarot landed a solid punch to Yamcha's gut, doubling him over. An instant later, Kakarot's knee came up into Yamcha's face, sending him stumbling back. "Yamcha!" Puar yelled, his voice filled with worry. He had never seen his master lose to anyone, especially not this badly. The sight of Yamcha getting hit so hard was alarming. That's it for this episode, guys. If you've watched to the end, then that may be an indication that you enjoy the episode, so please drop a like so the video could reach more people. See you in the next episode. Take care.